have dug unknowingly into the Sphinx.
From all the times, people are curious. You see that during the ages, people try to explore under the Sphinx. Maybe people believe there are hidden secrets. Today it's forbidden to make passages, but some centuries ago nothing was forbidden. So you can come and make a lot of things here. Human activity is incredible.
This explains the tunnels, but there still remains the enigma. Which king does the Sphinx represent?
When you face the Sphinx, you find that it's in line with the pyramid of Khafra. And it's very close to the very temple of Khafra and to the causeway. So presumably it must have belonged to the same king.
But other Egyptologists disagree.
When you look at Khafra's pyramid, the normal thing would have been for the king to build a causeway at 90 degrees to the pyramid and bring it straight down to his valley temple. This was not done. His causeway had to take a swing over to the side over there because this quarry was already in the way. I personally think that Khufu was responsible because mainly the eyes are very wide open and very large. Another thing is the Nemes headdress that he wears, which is just a head cloth that was striped. But in his successor's reign, there is not a stripe to be seen.
The Sphinx may indeed represent Khufu, the builder of the other pyramid, the Great Pyramid, which stands at its side. Khufu's pyramid nearly bankrupted the country, and so the Sphinx could have been built by one of his sons, Djedefre, to restore national confidence and Khufu's status.
The idea that Djedefre, as a good son, makes a monument for his father, the Sphinx, to continue the cult of his father, the god. The image of the Sphinx, in fact, helped, because the power, the strength was given back. He's there watching the Egyptian people.
Whether the Sphinx bears the face of Khufu may never be decided. For comparison, the only surviving statue of the pharaoh is a tiny figurine just 3 inches tall. A small reminder of the pharaoh who would build the largest stone monument the world has ever seen. The Great Pyramid of Giza holds the #1 position as Egypt's top wonder. It's the oldest wonder of the world and has been standing for 4,500 years. It's the greatest tomb ever constructed and remains the largest stone building on Earth. It was built for the pharaoh Khufu in 2560 BC, and from that time to this, the Great Pyramid has remained an icon of world architecture.
The idea of a pyramid is very simple. The ancient Egyptians believed that life is eternal. They crossed from this life to the eternal life, but they had to prepare the abode. Now, it took the shape of a pyramid because this is connected with the sun god. Now, King Khufu was the first king to put amongst his titles Sa-Re. Sa-Re means the son of the sun god.
The pharaoh Khufu had been brought up with pyramids. His father had been a builder on a grand scale. And from the start, Khufu set out to construct a pyramid that was perfect. Firstly, the pyramid was aligned with the compass. The points where the North Star rose and set were divided to define true north. Then the base was leveled. Khufu's pyramid covers 13 acres and is level to within just 1 inch.
They did this using a rectangular grid of channels in the rock, which they could fill with water. And any protrusion sticking up above the water could be shaved off.
Once the base was marked out and the ground level, building could begin.
This is where they cut the stones to build the pyramid. To move them, they dragged them from here up a great straight main ramp up to the pyramid itself.
For the lower courses, the blocks weighed 5 tons or more. But as the pyramid grew, the weight of the stones reduced. In total, the workers hauled a staggering 2,300,000 stone blocks. For the first time in pyramid building, the blocks did not slope inwards, but were laid in horizontal courses. One was fitted into place every 3 minutes. But despite this pace, Khufu's pyramid would take 22 years to construct. Inside, the pyramid becomes a puzzle. From the entrance, a passage descends to the subterranean chamber carved out of the bedrock. It leads nowhere and leaves us with a mystery. Above, the Queen's chamber is a sealed room for a statue of Khufu, representing his Ka, or spiritual force. From here, there's a spectacular high-ceilinged passage.
The grand gallery leading up to the king's burial chamber was built using a technique called corbelling. This is a simple form of arch that the Egyptians excelled at. Each stone block is progressively stepped in until you reach the top, and it has the advantage both of reducing the span that they have to bridge and of giving the room a great feeling of grandeur.
Above this, high up in the pyramid, is the king's chamber, designed to be Khufu's final resting place.
It's incredible, it's incredible. It's entirely walled in granite, and these roof slabs were the biggest span ever attempted at that time, 4,500 years ago. The Egyptians were so worried about the weight of the slab and the fact it might collapse under its own self-weight that they built a series of voids or chambers above to try and hold the weight of the pyramid off this roof right here. And then right at the top, 2 great stones lean against each other like a V, and that takes the force, the weight of the pyramid, right down and guides it down these beautiful side walls. It's the most fantastic space I've ever been in.
Inside the stress-relieving chambers remain the graffiti of the workmen. One of them mentions the name Khufu, the only record of the pharaoh for whom this pyramid was built.
This is the last resting place of Khufu. Unfortunately, it was robbed in ancient times, and that's why it was broken at this tip. The funny thing is, when this coffin was measured, they found that was a fracture wider than the entrance there. So obviously, it was put here before the structure of the whole burial chamber.
There are other curious features, like 2 tiny shafts that run from this chamber towards the outer face of the pyramid. These are believed to have released the pharaoh's Ka, or spirit, to the heavens.
On their way out, once Khufu was in his sarcophagus, the priests and the engineers sealed the tomb by dropping 3 huge granite slabs down these great slots here, sealing it off forever.
Then the entrance at the other end of the Grand Gallery was also sealed. To get out, the engineers now had to climb down a near-vertical escape shaft, make their way back up the descending passage, past the blocking stones, and out through the entrance. Then the passages were blocked and the entrance sealed with a flapstone, indistinguishable from the pyramid casing.
Supposedly, nobody would have known how to get in. And even if they had done that, they would have found tons of blocks of stones blocking the ascending corridors. Every precaution was taken. But you know something? At the end, the pyramid was robbed. How did they do that? God only knows.
These 7 wonders all stood within the world's first empire and have inspired every civilization to follow them. Whether a natural site or a man-made construction, the 7 wonders of ancient Egypt will remain world landmarks for all eternity.